This is
Hey there, guys. Welcome to Dark Side of Lust. I am your host, Cerise, and I am so happy that you're here to join me. Alrighty. Without any further ado, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already. It is free to do so. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit the bell. It will notify you when I upload a new video. Alrighty. Let's get into today's story. It's called I Hit Her Lover. Hey there, my name is Thaddeus, and yeah, I did something horribly wrong. You know, I was dating this girl since high school. I was the prom king, and she was the prom king. The perfect relationship that you could imagine. You know what the movies are made of? When the cheerleader marries the jock? That was us. But we weren't married yet. And she kept holding off. I don't know what it was. We got out of school and I didn't get chosen. I didn't get drafted the way we thought I was going to get drafted. So I couldn't go to college. Instead, I worked. My parents were really poor. They weren't able to pay for my college tuition, and her parents were wealthy. So she went off to community college. She didn't take off too far because she didn't want to leave her parents, and she said she didn't want to leave me. I believed it then. I don't believe it now. Anyway, she was in community college in our town, and I went to work. I worked my butt off. I was working my butt off to make sure that I was providing a good future for the two of us, even before we were living together or thinking about getting married. I thought it was going to give me a great opportunity to work from the bottom and then, work my way up. And by the time she got out of college, 3 years of college she was taking, I would be well on my way to making some good money, and college wasn't necessary. Well, for me, it wasn't necessary because I was making good money. And for her, it was necessary because I guess she wanted someone with the title. Anyway, she got out of high school. Well, college. She got out of college. So altogether, we were together throughout the whole entire high school and then her 3 years of college. That was 7 years pretty much. My world revolved around her. My everything, my wake ups, my throughout my day, working, night. It was like my world did not turn until I spoke to her in the mornings. And it was like I couldn't go to sleep unless I spoke to her before I went to bed. I loved that woman so much. And she said she loved me too. So she started a new job after she got out of college, and she was hired on to this wonderful firm. She was an accountant. Well, she ended up meeting a guy at work. You know how it goes. The story's not new. And she met a guy at work, and he just so happened to be the owner of this firm, the accounting firm. And he was a boss type of man. He always dressed nice, always looked good, always spoke very eloquently, and I guess he seemed to be a better provider for her. I mean, I would have been a better provider, to be honest with you, because like again, I make good money. I don't make his money, but at least I would have been a provider and a protector, what a real man does. Provide and protect. And that's what the type of man I was going to be. I still had my jock mentality, still watched a lot of sports, was still tough, and I was a person that would never allow anything to harm her at all. And so, you know, I kind of had a funny suspicion that she was doing something because there were some nights where she was working late and I started to get really insecure. And so some days I would drive by the office to see if there was any more cars parked in the driveway because it wasn't a big firm, but there were about 10 people working there. So it's medium sized business. And throughout the day, there would be cars parked there. And, throughout the evening, only her car and his car. Sometimes I would go to the door and try to open up and it would be locked. And then she would come to the door and she would be like, "Hold on, we're just trying to crunch some numbers here. Can you just come back or I'll meet you at the bar later?" And I started to feel like, how many numbers can they crunch? I realized that he was crunching her. Can't put my finger on it, and I know that it's said that women are the only ones with intuition, but I believe men get that gut instinct too. And my gut instinct was telling me that she wasn't being faithful. And so I really wanted to just punch a hole through the wall, punch a hole through the window, the glass. Like so many nights I went there and she said the same thing. And I would go to the bar and wait for her and drown myself and just drink after drink. And she wouldn't show up. And then I'd contact her and say, "Are you still at work?" And she'd be like, "Oh, I'm in my bed. I'm sorry, I couldn't make it to the bar tonight." And that wasn't like her because she would always communicate with me. So after about 3 months of this, I finally had enough. And I just asked her, I said, "Do you want to still be together? Tell me, because if you don't want to be together, we can break up." I'm not one of those obsessive men. I know it sounds like I was stalking her for a minute, but that was just because I needed to get it off my chest. I needed to have the truth revealed. I needed to know that I was right. And so I just said to her, I sat her down because I couldn't take anymore. And I'm like, "Listen, like, I've spent almost a decade with you, and I am ready to let all of this go if you are, but I just need to know." And she was like, "Well, maybe we just need to take a break." And at that point, I knew what a break meant because why would we be taking a break this far into our relationship? No, she needed time to figure out what she wanted with him and where he was going with her. And I wasn't going to sit around and wait for that. I was full force ahead, relationship, marriage, children, and retirement, and be together forever. She wasn't on that same wavelength, and I wasn't about to take a break and stop my life and then get back with her. So I left it all alone, and I said to her, "Listen, I'm good. If you want to stop this and you need a break, then we can take a break, but it's not going to be bringing it back together. I want you to look at our relationship like a stick, one end to the other. And if you want to take a break, then look at that stick breaking. The stick will never be the same, ever. So we cannot ever play that game." Well, she cried and she said, "I don't know what to do. I've never been without you before, but can we at least be friends? Will you still be there for me when I need you?" And all that stuff. And I said, "Not right away. Not right away, but maybe sometime in the future. You got to give me some time to heal and get over this." And so I just asked her, I said, "Listen, were you with another man? Like, are you cheating with your boss? I just need to know. I'm not going to hurt him. I'm not going to say anything. I won't judge you, but it's just something that's been on my head, and I just need to know the truth. That's it." And she admitted it. She said, "Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was with him, and I don't know what's happening because I have feelings for him, but they also are mixed with feelings for you, and I'm scared." And I said to her, "Well, you know what? A broken heart is okay, but a divided heart is not because it's like a home. If you split it in half, it's not going to stand." So I told her, "I love myself too much to be bothered with being with you. I'm a good protector, I'm a good provider, and if this is what you want, then I have to accept it. And if love is what it is, then I have to let you go and go be happy." And she said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're such a beautiful man. Now I'm even more nervous and scared because I don't want to let this type of person go like you are." And I told her, "Don't worry, you chose me. You're probably going to choose someone even better in the future. So go ahead and be happy." And I meant it. And I kissed her on her forehead and I left. And, because I already fought so much with myself over the past months, I thought to myself, wow, I felt a release. I felt like, okay, that word, woosa. That's how I felt. I felt like this is the answer I've been waiting for. And you know what? It gave me more time to focus on myself instead of saving up for the big, expensive diamond for the engagement. Yeah, I was going to get her a $10,000 rock. And on top of that, pay for the wedding because, I didn't want her dad to pay for it. Her dad was a very stuffy type of guy and he kind of wanted me to have a title as well. So, I wanted to prove to him that I can take care of his daughter. So I wasn't going to allow him to pay for the wedding. And then one thing led to the next. And I realized that, at that moment, I'm so glad I can keep all that money to myself because I started to work on my business, starting my own business. So it was about a few months after that where I had the opportunity to start my own business, and I did. I started my own business as a mechanic, and I was doing really well. And I've always done really mechanic work, a lot of mechanic work, and in the town. And so even when I was in high school, and so people used to always drop their cars off to me anyway. And so when I opened up my own shop, people were coming in. I was so busy, I had to hire people. I was making so much money, I had to stash it. I didn't have time to take it to the bank. At this point, I was making more money than her accountant. And I know that for sure. So there was one day, though, where she came to me and she started to confess to me that the love that he had for her was not the same love that I had for her. And I felt real sorry for her because she made the wrong decision. But at that point, I didn't have the feelings for her that I had for her when we were younger. Now I'm a seasoned businessman, I'm making my own money, and I was looking forward to dating a woman that would never ever second guess our relationship. And so I became her friend like she wanted, her confidant. And she told me that he was weak, and she told me that he was broke and that his business wasn't making money and that he was just really taking it out on her. And then she told me she was afraid of him because by this point, get this, they were living together. They weren't married, but they were living together. And not only that, he took life insurance out on her and he was the beneficiary. Why in the world would he take life insurance out on a girlfriend, not a wife? She didn't have life insurance on him. So I don't know. That made me feel really funny. And I said to her, you know what? I don't think that's a good place for you. I think you should really, get out on your own. And she said she wasn't making money because he wasn't paying her. And so I told her, if she needs some money, I can help pay her rent for a few months until she gets a different job. But I did suggest to her to get a different job and go live back at home with her parents then if she didn't want to accept money for rent. And she told me she would think about it. And then a few weeks after that, she came by my shop and she had a bruise on her head, like on her temple. And I said, "Whoa, what happened to you?" And she said it was an accident. And I said, "What type of accident?" And she said, "Well, she was going into the garage door at their house and he slammed it open and it hit her and she fell to the ground and she was knocked out for a minute." And again, my gut, right? My gut. I'm telling you, I got good intuition. I didn't feel like it was an accident. And I said to her, "Are you sure he didn't do it on purpose?" She's like, "Oh, no, there's no way, because how would he know I was coming?" And I said, "Well, motion sensors?" She's like, "Yeah, but you can't really see those from the living room." And I said, "Well, he wasn't in the living room. He was in the garage when it happened, because if he was in the living room, there's no way he could make it to you and hit you with the door." She's like, yeah, but he wouldn't be waiting in the garage just to hit me with the door. And I said, I don't know. I still think you should get out of there. And so she did. The next week, she called me up and she said, you know that money you said you were going to lend me? Do you think you can lend it to me? It's not necessarily for rent, but it's for money that I owe him and I want to pay him back and I want to move back in with my parents. I said, not a problem at all. I gave her $2,000. I told her keep it as a gift because I was proud that she was making that decision to step out of that relationship and start her life again. And I also did feel bad for her because I could tell that a part of her wanted to get back with me. Well, not a part of her, but every part of her. Her sole desire was to get back with me, and that wasn't going to happen. So then she was home one night at her mom and dad's, and he called her up and he asked her if he could take her out for a drive. He wanted to apologize and he wanted to give her back the $2,000 because he knew that she was stuck for money. She didn't really have a job, and he wanted to say sorry for all that has happened. And she messaged me and she told me this. And I told her, no, the money is done. I told you you don't have to give it back to me. Let him have his money and don't go see him. I got a bad feeling about this. And she told me where she was supposed to meet him. She's like, listen, this isn't an open area. I don't think it's going to be bad. I'm going to take my dad's car. I'm going to meet him and we're just going to talk. And I said, okay, don't go anywhere with him. Don't get in his car. And she said, okay. And then she texted me and she said, hey, we're at the spot we're supposed to meet at. It was Rowley's restaurant. And she said, I have to get in the car because he's going to take me back to his place. We're going to get the money and then he's going to drive me back to the restaurant. But I just wanted to let you know. And I told her, stay in your car, go back home. I will give you $2,000 again. Do not worry about it. And she said, no. She said she doesn't want to take any more money from me, but she does need that money and she feels bad. And I thought, you know what? Her life is not worth the money. And I said that to her, your life is not worth the money. And she's like, oh, please, you're just overthinking things. You'll never change. You've always been a little too cautious. And I thought to myself, I got to get to Riley's restaurant. So I sped to Riley's restaurant and I was passing them as they were passing me. You see, I was on my way to Riley's restaurant, but they had already passed and they were back in the direction that I was coming from. So I made a quick U-turn quietly. They didn't know it was me. And I followed behind them with my lights off. They couldn't even see me. And all of a sudden, their car stopped. He pulled over and I could just sense something. I couldn't see anything because their lights were off in the car and it was night. But again, my gut told me just something was going on. So I seen him get out of the car and go in the trunk. I seen him take out something that looked like something long. I didn't know what it was, but I just was heated and I was ready to jump out of my car and grab him. But I let him do what he had to do. He went to the passenger door. He opened it up and he pulled her out. And when he pulled her out, he put her kind of like in the middle of the road. Now, this road was not a busy road. We lived in a small town. He put her kind of like in the middle of the road and he hit her with this stick. And then I turned my lights on and she kind of just fell to the ground and he went to run behind the car to go to the driver's side and I just rammed him. I pinned him between my car and his. I jumped out of the car. I ran over to my ex-girlfriend and I picked her up and I put her into my car and I sped off to the hospital. And apparently he's going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. But I don't care. He's in jail. He is in jail. And she's going to be okay. She suffered quite a big blow. Her head was split open. She was in the hospital for a few weeks. She had a little bit of memory damage. And she suffers from headaches now. But they're saying that that will pass and she will get better. I'm just so happy that I was there for her. Hey guys, let's applaud Thaddeus. Come on, that's a real man. Put your comments down below what you would do if you were in that situation, or if you've ever been in a situation where somebody left you for someone else. How did it make you feel? Don't forget to put in the comments down below where you're watching this video from. Take care, everyone. Be careful out there.
This is